Now, back to Matt Patrick and your morning news.
And we are joined by Congressman Ted Poe here at KTRH. It is 7:15. Congressman, thank you for your time today. Sure appreciate it.
Good to see you, Matt.
All right, so let me start with Israel and Iran. The former chief of Mossad on 60 Minutes last night, he says that a preemptive strike against Iran right now would be a very, very bad idea. Even went so far as to say that in their own way, Iran is rational. Would you agree with that?
I don't know that I would agree that Iran is rational. Maybe the people of Iran are rational. The supreme leader and Ahmadinejad are not rational. They have made it clear for years that they wish to destroy Israel. That is their mission in life. And the reason we're going through all this turmoil is because they want to develop nuclear weapons. And the first rocket, as Ahmadinejad said, would go to Tel Aviv.
Right.
So I believe that. And so I would disagree that the folks are rational.
Congressman, you know, this scares a lot of people. A lot of Americans know that if there is a war between Iran and Israel, we are going to be involved in one way or another. It makes people very uncomfortable. People don't want to get in wars again. What should our position be, do you think? Should we continue to apply sanctions to Iran? And if Iran does strike Israel, how should we help them?
Historically, sanctions have never worked. The sanctions that are imposed now are moving in a direction where they tend to hurt Iran a little bit, but sanctions just prolong the inevitable. They are going to develop nuclear weapons, and we need to realize that as a nation. Our best strategy right now we should be supporting the people of Iran for regime change in their own country. There are many people in Iran who don't like Ahmadinejad. They want him replaced. And so if we're publicly, verbally saying he needs to go, as we have said with some other dictators, that would help the people of Iran. That's the best hope for the world, is a regime change in the country, not a shooting war between us and the Iranian government, including the Israelis.
We saw the people of Iran rise up a few years ago. Our president did really nothing, in my opinion, to support that uprising. Maybe gave a few verbal accolades here and there, but nothing more than that. Do you think this president is a fan of Israel? Do you think that this president will stand behind Israel from what you've seen?
I don't know. He says he will, but he gives mixed signals. Over the history of his presidency, he has said different things at different times. I believe that's why Netanyahu came to the United States, to find out exactly what the administration's position is with Israel. I'm not sure exactly today what would happen. Are we, as the president says, do we have their back, or is that just talk? I'm not sure the Israelis know. And the real problem is, if the Israelis decide that they have to do something, I'm not sure they will tell us about it. They'll go ahead and do it. And that's unfortunate. The United States needs to stay in the loop, supportive of Israel, know what they're doing. They should not go alone.
Congressman Ted Poe joining us here this morning. Just pleased to have him here in the studio with us. You've heard about the developments in Afghanistan. You've been to Afghanistan. The burning of the Qurans made people very upset over there, right or wrong. This is certainly not going to help matters. How bad are things, in your opinion, in Afghanistan today?
Well, the recent development of the U.S. soldier being accused of killing the 16, maybe more, Afghans is going to create a lot more turmoil in the region. The United States should be very quick to say, look, we will try this guy. We will give him his day in court and appropriate punishment if he's convicted. We ought to make that position very clear. But the radicals are going to use this as another example of why the United States needs to leave Afghanistan. We need to stay in Afghanistan as long as it's in our national interest. I'm not saying the Afghans' national interest, our national interest. And I think it is still at that point that we do so. Our troops need to have a better defined mission, their purpose, what their goal is, because I get asked that question when I go there. Yeah. Why are we here? Well, the rules of engagement are so difficult, sometimes they can't do what we want them to do. But it will cause some turmoil. We need to, I think, immediately say this is what we will do. We'll hold the person accountable that caused this crime against the Afghan people.
Congressman Ted Poe joining us here this morning. When we come back, we'll talk about what's taking place here in the United States. in particular the election. Primaries tomorrow. We'll get your thoughts on that. We got primaries in the Deep South tomorrow. Newt Gingrich have to win both of them or drop out of the race, in your opinion?
He needs to win both of them, but he will not drop out of the race. Newt Gingrich is just in for it for the long haul. He doesn't care what anybody says. He should win them, though. But, I mean, he needs to win them because of the region in the Deep South. But Santorum probably will win both Mississippi and Alabama, in my opinion.
May 29th, we have a primary here in the state of Texas. Finally, it looks like we will come into play when it comes to deciding who the GOP nominee will be. Would you be okay with a brokered convention if it comes down to that?
I would be okay with that. There are a lot of people who wouldn't be, but I think it's good for the party to have that if it gets to that point. Texas has 155 delegates,
right,
and we are in play now. If it goes to a brokered convention on the second ballot, delegates are not bound by the primary election. They can go any direction, and that means anybody could end up being the nominee. I think that's part of the system. So I'm okay with a brokered convention if we go to it.
All right, Congressman Ted Poe, it's always good to have you here. I could keep you here for an hour, but real quick, you want to endorse anybody at this point?
I don't endorse anybody, but I wanted to compliment you on your Charlie Brown Christmas tree that you still have here with the one Christmas bulb you have on it. It's doing quite well for your listeners who are wondering about your Charlie Brown Christmas tree.
Always try and keep the Christmas spirit here in the studios at KTRH.